Wedding dress design is one of those things that you have to get inspiration for. Just like going out and buying your wedding dress, even if you have an idea in mind, when you see that perfect dress, you just know it. Now, initially, I was thinking of making a basic shift dress in a white raw silk that I happen to have in my stash as part of the process to use my stash, until I saw a dress in a window at a local shop and decided that I needed to change my plans entirely. Today, I'm sharing the type of dress I'm making, the inspiration behind it, and the fabric and pattern I plan to use to get it done. So keep watching. Hi, I'm Tony. This is So Lounge, and I'm getting married in October. This is not my first wedding. The first time around, I did want to make my wedding dress, but I had to study for the bar, I had to take the bar and plan a wedding down in Mexico, and it was all too much to do in my tiny little apartment. So I didn't do it the first time around. Instead, I bought a beautiful, very classic dress. I had a very traditional wedding in Catholic church, and I went and dug through some of my photos, and I found a few photos of me and my dad walking down the aisle, and I wanted to share those with you today. So you can see my dress, you can see the full length and the shape and silhouette of the dress. I wore a mantilla that my parents had picked up for me on a trip to Spain, and it was a very classic dress. It was an Oleg Cassini design. It was the last collection of wedding dresses he designed, and I just fell in love with this dress. It had a silk organza overlay with French lace that had some very light beading and sequencing. You can kind of see the bodice. And then it just had a beautiful drape once the train was bustled. And I love this. And looking at these photos is a little bit hard because my dad passed in 2020, too early, due to cancer. I haven't looked at these in a while, not just because I got divorced, but just because they make me miss him. So, yeah, there's that. So the second time around, we're not doing a church wedding, and we're actually going to get married in a restaurant, our favorite restaurant here in Houston, in one of their private rooms. Initially, I was thinking about making this new look pattern and just keeping it easy, having a really pretty sleeve, and doing this version over here. You may remember this from my new look pattern haul at the beginning of the year, and that was just my thought. You know, I'll have these beautiful sleeves. It's an October wedding. Not that it's cold here in Texas. And then I will use this pearl-colored silk dupioni that my mom bought me many years ago on a trip to Abu Dhabi. And then once I started thinking about it, I kind of changed my mind. Now, one of the reasons the plan for the dress changed is because I decided I didn't want to have these big sleeves, even though I'm getting married in October, because I've been working out and I really like the way that my arms are looking. So they're nice, they're muscular, and I'm going to show them off to you because I've worked really hard to start building some muscle and lose weight. Now, I told my trainer that and she laughed and she goes, "You totally need to show off your arms and back." I'd been driving by this boutique on my way home from work for several weeks and looking at this dress in the window. And I really liked this dress. I thought it looked really pretty. But I didn't go in because this boutique is notorious for really, really rude sales ladies. And I'm talking like, you know, Pretty Woman rude, like just unbelievable. And so I really didn't want to go in there by myself. And so one day I convinced Jen to go with me after we went on our shopping spree at High Fashion. I said, "Hey, can you go to the shop with me? Because I don't want to go by myself." And she goes, "Yeah, those ladies are really not nice," except she didn't use that phraseology exactly. So we go into the shop and I walk to that section of the store and the dress wasn't even on the mannequin anymore. It was just kind of draped over a rack. And so, you know, we didn't get any help walking in. Nobody even talked to us or acknowledged us even being there. And then we got the dress and just basically decided we were going into a fitting room to look at it. And so I asked Jen if she'd hold it up because, you know, I'm not fitting into a size 4 under any circumstances. And to make matters worse, it was a UK size 4. So even Jen, who's smaller than I am, couldn't get into it. So we had a few laps. We looked at the construction of the dress. And I realized that with Jen and Grandma's help, I could probably make this dress. And this is the dress that I saw on the mannequin in the window of the shop. So it looked very different than when Jen and I actually went and just kind of held it up and tried to get a visual of what the dress was going to look like. So that's the front. You can see it has these fantastic sleeves, a long train in the back, and then from the back, it looks like a giant bow that goes into a train. And I was just really blown away with this dress. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, I don't like the styling. It's a little bit too modern for me, and I don't think it really lends itself to a wedding dress kind of vibe the way that it's styled. Let me show you in a couple of other colors what it looks like so you have a better idea. This is the black one. You can kind of see how sculptural the sleeves look and the train. It's really quite fantastic. And then here is another view of the kind of off the shoulder with the band, so you can see how those sleeves are connected into the back of the dress. This is the sleeve, so you can see that, just that sculpture of it. It's just so beautiful. I absolutely love it. And the crispness of that top edge and the bottom edge is achieved with horsehair braid. So that will be a first for me, using horsehair braid, but this is basically the styling and the idea of what this dress looks like. Let's go back to the purple. The dress that is underneath this kind of sleeve train bow thing is not complicated. And that's the one reason that made me think I could do this myself, was once I actually looked at the inside of the dress and came to that realization of, oh, I don't have to make an entire pattern from scratch. So right up here is a shoulder seam. This is a one shoulder dress underneath this. It fits around and then comes down the side, and then it comes across the front, kind of on the high side, and then goes down the other side. Now, this dress has bust darts here, more or less, and it has center front darts. So the basic dress is not complicated. The complicated part comes once we start doing all of these attachments and then figuring out how to make this work and where these things get connected. Now, the cool thing is you can't tell from the front of the dress that there's a shoulder strap there, because this top edge here is where the sleeve is connected to the shoulder. And the same goes for the back. You can't see it. It's connected very, very high. There's like about 2 inches of shoulder strap that you can see right at the top of the shoulder. If you were taller than me and looking down, then you could see that. On this other side, down on the lower sleeve, this piece here is sewn onto the dress, and it's also connected right here. So that is going to be a part to figure out. It is actually a little tiny bit lower on this side than where the sleeve actually starts here, but I think we can figure that out to make that work and how to connect that. Grandma has plenty of ideas so far. So that is the dress. These are UK sizes, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to order this dress. I would have to order it directly from the manufacturer, from their website. The dress is only $888, which in the grand scheme of wedding dresses is not expensive, but, big but here, I'd have to pay for return shipping. And if this dress doesn't fit, because I've never tried on a size 14 UK dress in this style, I have to ship it back. And it is a very heavy dress. It is a polyester twill. It is lined. And when I held up that dress, I was like, oh, this is going to be about $100. Just ship it back. I did try on a different dress from the same company in a size 12, which I could get on. It was another strapless dress, but it was a maxi length dress. And I could not zip up the side seam because my rib cage was too big. So regardless of the amount of weight I would have lost, I wouldn't have been able to get it over my rib cage. So that's why I think I would have gone with the size 14, which is interestingly the pattern size that I'm working towards and almost there, but I just didn't want to chance it. 2 things needed to happen for me to be able to recreate this inspiration dress. And those would be finding a pattern that was similar enough that I could use it as a base for the dress, and finding the right color and weight of fabric to be able to recreate the bow detail on the top of the dress. I started Googling one shoulder cocktail dress patterns, and the first one I found was this one from Butterick, 6557. This is an out of print pattern. So while I could find a dress that I thought would work, I couldn't find the actual pattern in print anywhere. So I got on Etsy and started Etsy and eBay. I was looking everywhere I possibly could. And I think I actually found this on Etsy. And then I found another dress from the same vendor, which is slightly different. It has princess seam lines and a slightly gathered shoulder, one shoulder. And so I thought, well, let me just get both of them because I got a discount if I bought two and shipping was free. So that's what I went with. But I think this is going to be the pattern. Looking at this pattern, there are a couple of significant differences. The first being the left shoulder is covered in the pattern, whereas the design inspiration is the right shoulder that's covered. Now, I have a very large scar on this left shoulder, and the fact that the pattern covers that up makes me happy. That was another issue with the dress that I didn't think about until I found this pattern. So I would say, let's cover the left shoulder, and I'm all for that. The other thing is that the shoulder band, the band that goes over the shoulder, is significantly wider because in the other two versions, you're attaching a sleeve. So it needs to come further over to form an armscye. I am not sure if it's smaller on this pattern, on this what is that, A, in version A or not. I'm guessing it's not, but I can either make that work by, adjusting the pattern manually, or maybe that'll make it a little bit easier to connect the outers, the higher sleeve, if there's more space. I don't know. We will see what happens as the process gets started and goes through. The thing I like about this pattern is it does have the single bust darts. It does have the center front darts compared with the other pattern I found, which, while it does have a narrower shoulder, it is a little bit gathered, and this one has all princess lines. So this is not going to give me quite the same hourglass fit that this pattern will. And so therefore, this is the winner of the two, just because it's closer to the original idea, and that is what I'm going for. Once I found the pattern, the next step was to find the fabric. Now, fortunately, when this decision-making process was all going on, high fashion was still open. And so after work one morning, when I finished early, I stopped by to go back through their silk dupionis and see what I could find. And I'm so happy to report that I found the most exquisite purple fabrics, two different ones. I'm going to show them to you now. You're going to love them. They are a little bit darker than the actual fabric. And I'm not sure how this is going to look in the light because the lighting in here is always a little questionable. And this is silk shantung. So it is a gorgeous purple, lilac-y color. I love it. It's a nice weight. It is lighter than the twill of the original dress, but this fabric still has like some good stiffness to it. This color is the base dress. So what I thought I'd do, since I found these two different fabrics, and at the time I wasn't sure, I didn't have the pattern yet actually when I found these. I had ordered it, but it had not come in yet. So that's why I went with two different silk shantungs. Now these are basically the same base color, but this one's iridescent because of the cross weave fabric being, the cross weave thread being different. So you can see it has this kind of blue iridescence to it. And I really liked that because I thought that would make it a little bit more interesting than all the same solid color. I believe this is also, yeah, these are both silk shantung, not dupionis. So they both have the same weight. This one, the warp threads are this bright blue, as you can see, and then when combined with the weft threads that are the same color purple, it just makes this really beautiful iridescent color, which I hope the camera is picking up so you can see. So the idea was to drape this, and I think it will work for the sleeves. It might be a little bit softer, but that's okay because the original design idea is the inspiration. But you can see that it's going to be really pretty and really iridescent. once it starts getting kind of draped. So that's just to kind of show you the idea of it. And then the base dress would be this color. So they look really pretty together. Because I didn't know how much fabric I was going to need to make the top part of the dress, I just bought everything they had. At the time at High Fashion, it was 50% off if you bought the rest of the bolt. The original price of this one was $29.99, and this one was, I think they were both $29. Oh, let me see. This one was $19.99. So getting silk shantung for $10 a yard and, you know, what was this, $14.99 a yard is almost unheard of if I bought the rest of the bolt. So I just did. The total for these fabrics came to about $197 because there's a lot of yardage on these. And I just decided that's fine. I love purple. I can always make something else out of this. If I have extra, I could also make a vest for Dan to wear at the wedding with his suit, and then we'd kind of be matchy, but not too matchy, and take it from there. A couple of things I've thought of since starting to record this video, and the first being that I am getting really, really close to being the exact size of my dress form. I just took my measurements and measured her, and the bust is right, the waist is right, and the hips are off by like ½ an inch. So I am very, very close to being able to just use my dress form to get the correct fit of this dress and to also do some draping. She does have arms that fit on her, so that would help with the, you know, draping of the top, bow, sleeves, and the train. And then also, I was thinking that I would make this entire dress in muslin and then use that as the base to then try and attach the bow and the sleeves to, and figure that out in muslin first and then work that into the fabric. The other cool thing I have to assist with this whole process is this very cool red dot Pellon kind of tracing paper. I got this from my friends at Leo9. Lee uses it when she does her quilt designs, and I have not been able to find this anywhere other than their shop. And it's very cool because it has the 1-inch dot marks on it like traditional pattern paper, but it's made out of Pellon. So it's the same kind of stuff interfacing is made out of, but it doesn't have the sticky side to it. So my idea is to trace this pattern onto my Pellon, and then in theory, I could use the Pellon as the base for the draping and not have to make the whole thing up in muslin, or I can make it up in muslin. So we're gonna see how it's working, but I'm definitely gonna start with Pellon instead of regular paper because I think that will make the whole process a lot easier. And then once we get to that stage, we'll move on to the dress form and finalize the fitting and the, you know, the whole construction process before I go cut everything out in the silk shantung because, you know, that's a little stressful. Last night I was having nightmares that this dress didn't work out, and like the kind that wake you up, you know, like not only did the dress not work out, but like I think it fell apart when I was wearing it, you know, those crazy dreams that you have. And it made me think that there is some fear associated with making this dress. And I need to remember that fear has a voice, but not a vote. So I can acknowledge it, but it's not going to have any impact on what I'm doing. And I'm going to put it in the passenger seat and it gets to go on the ride with me, but it doesn't get to do any of the driving. So I had to remind myself of that this morning, because when this kind of fear arises and I start getting very nervous about something, and this doesn't happen very often, but lately, the last couple of sewing projects I've worked on have not turned out as well as I would like them to. And so my sewing skills are feeling a little bit rusty. My pattern making is definitely rusty because I have not worked on that and have not done any draping in a very long time. They say you never lose these skills, and it's just like riding a bicycle and you just have to get back on and do it. So I'm hoping that is where this will go. I'm optimistic that this is where this will go, but I'm still kind of apprehensive. And so in these instances when this sort of fear shows up and, starts knocking at the door, and I I have to think about what's the worst thing that could happen? What is the absolute worst thing that could happen? Okay, my dress doesn't work out. Okay, so then what's the next worst thing that could happen? So if it doesn't work out, then what happens? What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, then I just have to, use the base dress as my dress. Okay, well, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, if I ruin that, well, I've got plenty of fabric that I could remake that dress. And I could easily remake it with one of these sleeve variations. It would still be a beautiful dress. I mean, it would still be in gorgeous fabric. Because I've cut so much of it, I could easily make 2 dresses without a problem. And that's what I have to remind myself of. Like, I'm not having a plan B because I want to get this done, and I know I have the skills to get this done, especially if Jen and Grandma help me work the magic and work it out in all of our collective consciousness. I feel confident that we can do it, but you know how fear is. It's just like nagging in the background, and I just want to punch it in the face and tell it to be quiet. Go sit in the corner. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because that's where I am today. I'm looking at the time. We're going into July very quickly, and then it'll be August, and then it'll be September, and then bam, it's going to be October. And, that's plenty of time to make a dress, especially since this is not a complicated pattern, but I need to get going. And so I'm giving myself the same pep talk that you can check out in this video up here. It will keep you motivated. It will help you reset and reground yourself so that you feel like sewing and that you get motivated and get the inspiration you need. And I'm going to go check it out now, and you should too. And I'll see you over there.